So most of us know from this generation the game of life. Did any of you play that game growing up? Yes. So in that game there was a lot of twists and turns and going forward and going backwards and opportunities and choices, right? Yes. It all depended on whatever card we chose or whatever spin of the wheel took us. But is that the same for us in life? The game of life that we lead? Do we have choice? Do we have free will? Or are we just at the mercy of drawing the wrong card or spinning the wheel and ending up somewhere where we really do not desire? Do you have that choice? Do you have that free will? Yes, you do. We're responsible and accountable for the reality that shows up in our life. We are not at the hands of drawing the wrong card or spinning and getting the wrong direction. As long as we are aligned with the Spirit that we are. If we are not, no telling what reality will bring into our path. Because the game of life is about the lessons we have chosen to come here to learn. And if we keep learning them from outside of ourselves and not from within that light that we are, they will keep coming back for another opportunity. So there's rules to the game of life, right? Are there rules to our life, to the game of our life? Yes. We have principles. Unity has 5 principles, and they are all absolute. They are all unchanging. They are universal, spiritual, divine. They are of us. They are our nature. They never change. Just like in mathematics, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Is that ever going to change?
No.
Oh, I thought maybe y'all didn't know that. Okay. That is a mathematical law. 2 plus 2 equals 4. If you think different about that equation, or you want to change that equation, do you have the ability to do that? No. Maybe in your imagination, your fantasy. But no, it is a principle. Just like our principles here at Unity are absolute, unchanging. And when we follow them, the game of life for us is progressive, is evolving, is transformational. Right? So, we've come here to this game. We're playing this game of life. And we have created within this game the anxiety of thinking that we are separate. We really believe that we are separate from each other, don't we? We believe that what happens to other people does not affect us. Don't we? Huh? Not anymore. Right. So, I asked you to use your curiosity and your wonderment about thinking that you made this decision to come here to experience the game of life through separation. That you came here to choose to experience the game of life in a physical form. Are you physical? You are in the body. We have chosen to come here as a body that separates us from the all. We have chosen to come here to experience both sides of light and dark. That was our choice that we made. Now, how do I believe that? Because of the sources I have read. A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people don't believe in reincarnation. I choose to believe that I have experienced many lives in order to learn to come to this place in time now where I no longer believe that I am separate from the all. But I wonder how many times I've had to go through the great game of life in the classroom and take on these lessons to get to this point where I no longer believe that. That there is us and them. That there is me and you. So we've created this anxiety within us to think that there is a difference because we are in a body. We are in the physical form. That I'm no longer connected to any of you. Sharon shared experience of her connection with her brother. She felt that connection. She knew of their oneness during that time. And she was able to express that to me this morning. So we have created this game that we're playing. And because God has given us free will, and we are that God because of our oneness, right? That's our first principle. We have made the decision to come here and experience what it feels like to be separated and to be in the form of a body. Okay, so we created this anxiety. So good and evil. Is there good and evil? If we are coming from the physical body, the body of form, yes, we see evil. But is there really evil? There is no evil. Evil is an illusion that the light, there's no light. Evil is just that whatever has appeared is that person, that situation is not aligned with their higher consciousness. If you are aligned with your higher consciousness, it is all good. Good and evil is just an illustration of where you are in your connection to light, where you are in your connection to source. We hear all the time about good versus evil. Are we here to attack evil? Are we here to defend the good? And why not? Because we create more of the illusion of evil. We create more of the illusion of darkness. When we believe in the injustice, when we believe in the darkness, the negative, then we have actually fueled it. We have covered that up with our own belief about it. We are not here to defend ourselves against it. That's the game of separation. If you are living from that energy, you are in the illusion of separation. You are no longer coming from the place of your wholeness, if that is your belief, and if you are fueling that with your thoughts about it. Another principle of unity. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. I'm going to read that again because this is so important. Your task, what you come here in the game of life, is not to seek the love. The love is all there is. There is nothing other than love. God is love. God is good. You are love. You are good. That's the only energy that there is. So we don't have to seek it. We don't have to go out and find it somewhere. Right? if we are looking for it somewhere, then there is a barrier within us that is shielding us from that love that we are. It's just a barrier. But merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So when we make the choice to come into this game of life and we become separated, at this point, let me share this story with you. Do some of you know Greg Braden? Okay. He's a very metaphysical man, but he is about the science. He's about connecting the science to the spiritual essence. He's all over YouTube. I invite you to check him out. You will learn so much from him. But he tells a story about these two twins that were born in the hospital. And they were born early, so they were going through some struggles to try to maintain themselves. Well, immediately after they're born, they're separated. That's what people do. We start separating the babies from their mother. Take them away from where they have been for 9 months or so, feeling the safety and the security. And they're yanked away from that essence and that safety that they've always known. So these two twins are put in separate little incubators. Well, the one twin flourishes and is strong and is doing fine. But the other twin, who's not even in the same room, is crying and getting weak. And you can tell the twin is suffering so badly. And there's just nothing that they could do about it. And then they would try to touch it, and they would try to talk to it and try to soothe the twin. Well, one night, a nurse, behind their backs, when she was on the late shift, she went in and she brought the strong baby into the weaker baby. And she connected the two. And she knew that that was against hospital policy. But the baby quit crying. The baby snuggled up, they snuggled up together, and they were connected again. The baby felt safe and nourished. And the baby was able to thrive again. And that's kind of like we are. What an example of us. When we feel alone and we feel separated from others. And if we come together and support, we begin to thrive, don't we? Look at unity here, Wednesday nights and Sundays. How when we come together, we're all filled with joy and laughter and we're thriving. We no longer feel separated. It's the same thing in life. The game of life is connecting not only to that within you, but within others. So we want to remove some of these barriers. So let's take a look at some of these barriers. Judgment is self-condemnation. Judgment is self-condemnation. When you are judging another, when you are judging someone that you feel is evil, that you feel is in the dark, you are actually judging yourselves. You are condemning yourselves because you are looking at them and they are a reflection of you. Every single thing that goes on in this world is also part of you. You can be just as dark as anyone else can be. You can be just as light as anyone else can be. Every aspect between the darkest of dark and the lightest of light, within that spectrum, you can be any place at any given time. And if you believe in reincarnation, no telling what you have done in past lives, that you could have been this evil person that had done so much harm. And hopefully you've learned that lesson and you move on to the next level. So this is what the game of life is we try to move on to the next level. And most of us have to hit what we call rock bottom. I did. Most of the people I know have had to hit rock bottom. If you've been in any support groups, you know that usually what gets people there is them being in the darkest of their days where they hit the bottom. where they no longer want to feel that darkness. They no longer want to condemn themselves. Where they want to stop judging. And they want to practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is the only freedom we have when we are in that dark space that's just covering that light. And it has to start with self-forgiveness first. And like I said last week, it has to be 100%. Not leaving 1% that is not forgiven. And that means no judgment of anything. Last week was about loving what is. The Melanie, Byron Katie's work. Loving what is. When we get to that space where you love exactly what is right now, the release of judgment is no longer present. And there you are, free to experience the present moment right now, connected to the all. No separation. So that's one of the barriers, a couple of the barriers there. I will fear no evil. Fear is the biggest thing when it comes to feeling separate from others. What if, when you saw someone that you thought was this dark, evil person, what if you looked at them differently and you asked yourself, I wonder what they're fearing? Because the reason they're living from that dark space is because they are fearing something. They are fearing their own survival, maybe. They are feeling losing power and control over their lives. Fear is the biggest emotion that you can have that will separate you and put you into that separation anxiety. If you're coming from a consciousness of ego, of self-serving, of personality, where it all has to be your way. Fear. I hear people say, well, I'm going to lose myself. I don't know who I am if I'm not this. I have a friend that's been raped several times as a young child. She doesn't know who she is without her rape. She is filled with fear of losing an identity that she has come to know as being her. Fear. I heard something the other night about how people, they're so afraid that they're gathering guns and they're locking their doors and they're just, doing all this stuff because they're so fearful of the world outside of them now. They are pulling that toward them by feeling that they have to defend themselves. It is fear within them. At night, I envision my house with this big globe of energy, of light, circling it. I told you this. I feel protected. I feel safe because I have the power to generate my safety. I have the power to create a space that is free of destruction, that is free of fear. And I feel that freedom from within. So fear, when you see evil out here, think of what is going on in the world and with people who are running the world. They are scared to death. They are living in such a state of fear, of manipulating others, of power over others. So now what do we do with this fear? Let your light shine so brightly that others can see their way out of the dark. No matter what. Whatever you are encountering with other people who are living from fear, who are living from a state of darkness, shine your light on them. Here at Unity, Jesus is our way shower. The Bible is filled with all the examples of Jesus shining his light on others. No condemnation, no manipulation, no judging, no ego present in that whatsoever. Complete and total acceptance and allowing of the light. No telling them what they needed to do or how to do it. Just living his example of that light. So when we confront someone that we feel this fear and evil and darkness pouring out of them, are you going to go up against them and get away from me, I don't want nothing to do with you? And fuel that even more? Because they're an aspect of you. If we're one, and if you believe that we're one, then they're an aspect of you. They're a reflection of you. So what do you want that reflection to look like, and how do you want it to come back to you? For me, I want it to come back as the unconditional love that I am, that light that I am. And that's how I choose to show up. That's my choice I make when I confront that. I had a friend spend the night with me Friday night, filled with darkness. Oh. And she sat and drank the whole time she was with me. And the whole time I just sat there and I just saw her in the light. Because she's filled with cancer and she's afraid. She doesn't want to feel anything. And at first I wanted to defend myself and say, I don't want you here. I wanted to say, I think I had to be protecting myself. And I decided no. I allowed what needed to happen. And I stood in my light. And I asked her if she wanted to come down here Sunday. She said she couldn't. And I don't want to hear you talk, because that's not how she knew me. She knew me 30 years ago when I was living from that same darkness. So Sunday morning, after sitting with her Saturday night, she wakes up. She says, can we just at least go down to your church so I can see what's going on, what's it all about? And she came in here taking pictures and taking brochures and interested in what was going on and how come I'm this changed person. And so I could have rejected her, pushed her away, defended myself, but I made a choice to just be this loving light. And the next morning when she got up, it was contagious. She wanted to know. She was curious. And she went home 2 hours later. She called me and told me the change that I had made and how she perceived me, not only me as a different person, but also how she perceived herself. So this is what we do. So we can change our game plan now. We can rediscover, because it's not something that we discover because we already are it, the light. But we want to rediscover. We want to remove the blocks. Put the ego in the background more than having the ego up front. When we feel the fear move in, to remember that it is just false evidence of something that is not right. And then we go within and we align to that light. And we change the whole game that we play every single day. The game of life becomes a game of joy and peace and harmony and love. And we're no longer at the mercy of picking the wrong card or spinning the wheel wrong. We're no longer at any mercy because we are graced. We are graced in the love that we are. So I invite you to shine your light in any darkness, in any fearful moments, anytime you feel that you are not connected to your allness, and knowing that you are not separate from what is happening out here. But also knowing that you make a difference by